In Chapter 3, we're going to learn more facts about the monarchs. First, we're going to answer some questions about, are they like other insects? Actually, the answer is yes and no. First of all, yes, their nervous system and like their brain is not in its head, but it's in its body, the thorax part of the body, and it has a like long chambered heart that runs the length of the body on the upper side. And yes, they have compound eyes and an exoskeleton. They also have 6 legs and 3 main body parts, the head, the thorax, and the abdomen, or the tail end. And they have, I should say, they smell better than we do with their antenna of all things. And they also use scents to communicate. Now we'll answer the no's. No, they have 6 legs, but only use 4. The back ones they use the most. The front 2 ones are smaller and weaker, so they don't use them as much. So that's not like other insects. Another thing that they're different about is that they are poisonous to many predators. And also the biggest thing is that the monarchs migrate such a long distance, and it's only the monarchs that do that. Also, the monarchs collections are not popular anymore. So if you have a collection, you better get rid of it. They're not popular because of the decline in the population. We'll have some more interesting facts on the monarchs. The insect order name for the butterflies and the moths is Lepidoptera. Yeah, let's see if you can say that one. Lepidoptera, meaning scaly wings in Greek. The scientific name for the monarch is Danius fleximus. That one's easier actually than the other one. Well, at least we don't have to call them that. The great thing about it, the butterfly, is that it was named the butterfly by early settlers that came to North America from Europe, and they were so impressed by the sight of them that they named him Monarch. They named it after King William, who was the Prince of Orange at the time. Later he became king. And that's why they also have a nickname of King Billy. I've never heard that, but I guess others have heard that. They are called King Billy. Okay, the lifespan of the monarchs. There are 4 generations in each year. 3 of the generations live 2 to 6 weeks only. But the one generation that is born in early fall lives like 6 to 8 months. Another interesting thing is that the wings are transparent, actually, and the layers of scales that are on their wings is called chitin. That makes it, and they are so thin that you can see through them if the light is right. And bright colors actually are a signal to predators to stay away because they are dangerous, to eat because of the toxins that are carried from when they're a caterpillar. And when they eat the milkweed, it is poisonous to everything except them. So if birds try to eat them, they'll get sick. They'll throw it up. So those are some interesting facts. The male and female differences. It's amazing how you can look at them and not from a distance you can't tell which is which. However, on the male, there is two little black spots on the center of each hind wing. And actually, this is a scent gland, which is used, like we said before, that they use scents to communicate. They actually use those scents, and they're up here somewhere, right in here. And, oh, that's the female, I'm sorry. No wonder I couldn't see them. They're down here. That's the male with his little spots right there. So it's not the female. That we will erase. The female, another thing that's different from the male is that their veins are thicker. See if you can see that here. These veins. Why isn't this thing working? The veins right here, they go up and down. These are thicker than down on the male. And the male's wings are a bit like wider. And the veins are thinner. And the male's body is slightly smaller than the female. Not much. So that's the differences. The underside of both the male and the female is a kind of a lighter, drabber color of orange and lightish brown. So it's hard to tell which is which. The female uses her front legs to identify milkweeds by drumming on the plant to taste it with her feet. So the male doesn't have to do that, even though they also will drum to taste other flowers and plants. Okay, now we're into the mating season. This is the fun part. The male has this organ that kind of clasps around the female so that he can mount her, and actually it's from the opposite direction. Anyway, they will stay that way for like up to 24 hours. And you can see from this picture that the male is a little smaller than the female. But it's interesting how it takes so long to do this, but maybe it's just the fact that there's so many eggs that need to be fertilized. So he deposits the sperm into a small storage pouch that she has on her abdomen, which she will later use to fertilize the eggs as she lays them. Now, the males do not die after mating like some people think, but they continue to mate throughout the season, while the female searches for milkweed and lays the eggs. So it's females have the work, kind of like all of us females. Huh? We do all the work, and the males have the fun. There are 7 states that have the monarch as their official state insect. There's Alabama, there's Idaho, Illinois, Minnesota, and Texas, Vermont, and West Virginia. Although West Virginia has 2 insects. They also have the European honeybee, but those are all the states, which is pretty astounding that that many states have chosen the monarch. Now we're going to cover beliefs about the monarch butterflies. There are many different beliefs that are associated with butterflies, and many of them are like for hope after death, or for transformation, change, and for joy or peace. Also in Mexico, the local people there have this belief for centuries that the monarchs are spirits of their loved ones and they are returning. And they celebrate this Day of the Dead, which is about the same time as our Halloween, from October 31st to November 2nd. It's a really festive time. They have parades and all kinds of activities, and they celebrate the lives of their loved ones with decorated altars in their homes, such as this one here. Now we're going to answer some questions that are mysteries or have been mysteries. One of them is about how do they taste with their feet, which we just talked about, how they drum on the leaves. The female will test the milkweed to make sure it's the right one. And they also do that with flowers to make the plant release the juices from the flower. And that way they can identify what type it is. Then another question is, where did the term butterfly come from? Well, years ago, they would land on the butter churn. Back in the days when they used to make butter, by churning it by hand, butterflies would come around and land on it because they wanted to have some of that good stuff. So that's how they got their name, butterfly. So that apparently is an interesting fact. Another one is, are there other colors of monarchs? And yes, there does happen to be a white one that has the black markings. And they are mostly in Hawaii, Australia, New Zealand, and Indonesia. So that's some interesting mysteries that are answered. Next, we're going to go into some interesting news and events.